of a former student at Akron Westfield Community School says she's speaking out after her child was expelled following an incident back in March. Cherokee Blaine says her son received the same punishment as an alleged attacker. Her son was expelled for videoing the incident. KTIV's Matt Hoffman spoke with Blaine virtually last week.
So he won't have a chance to get into another school because I have to go to Akron and, give a place over his last schooling. And Akron is going to be making sure that my boy won't be getting into any schools.
That's Cherokee Blaine describing how her child will now have to attend alternative school in Sioux City or Le Mars after he was expelled until the 2024-2025 school year. Blaine admits her son did film the incident, which resulted in juvenile criminal charges towards the assailant. But she believes he should not receive the same punishment for filming the video and sharing it with friends.
A lot of students knew that there were talk about a fight going to happen at the school.
Blaine says her son deleted his copy of the video at the request of a school official after sharing it with a couple people. She argues every student who took a video should also be expelled.
You're the only one being expelled, which the school made it publicly known 2 students got expelled. What about the rest that were in the gym?
Blaine provided us an email from the superintendent that reads, quote, "The student recorded the video and it ended up on social media and now has made the news," end quote. The email goes on to say Blaine's student has, quote, "knowledge of the pending assault and because of his, quote, willingness to record and share the video," end quote, he was suspended. In Akron, Iowa, Matt Hoffman, KTIV News 4.
KTIV reporter Matt Hoffman did reach out to the superintendent about this story. He was told the school does not have any more comments about the situation.